You will see if you want to stay with the hoop and hollering, or do you want to be still and know God. So my gift to you, no charge, at rebuildingtheman.com/church. I read or heard that some Republicans are starting to pull their advertisements from Google or whomever, right? Because so many conservatives are being shut down, discriminated against, shadow banned, and all that kind of stuff. So conservatives are starting to fight back. It is happening to us too. I'm just taking it one day at a time. But you can go to jlptalk.com and find all the ways to support us. You can check out rebuildingtheman.com and support our nonprofit organization. You can call 800-411-BOND, 800-411-2663. And don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share, and study. And also, we have thefallenstate.tv. Ring the bell. I have books that are amazing. I highly recommend you get them. 7 Guaranteed Steps to Spiritual, Family, and Financial Success Guide. Even if you're not starting a business, but you have a job, or you're on welfare, it can help you if you do. Be doers of the word, all right? From rage to responsibility. From rage. That's what I write about in the first chapter, especially how I overcame. Scam. How the black leadership exploits black Americans. They are using them. The blacks are too willing to be used. And then my last book, The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood. They are all amazing books, and they are helpful. Go to rebuildingtheman.com if you want an autographed copy, or call 800-411-2663. We have a counseling service, and I have to admit, thanks to God, it is the best counseling service on this side of heaven. I counsel with men and women, families, individuals around the world. Most people are unhappy, they're miserable, they have rough lives, they're depressed, suicidal, young and old, of all races. I understand, I know why, and I do understand it. Because exactly what's happening in me is happening with everybody outside of me, inside of them. And I've noticed that with those who really, really, really want to understand, they overcome it just like that, out of one counseling session. If you need counseling, you can go to rebuildingtheman.com or call 800-411-2663. 800-411-BOND. Best counseling service on this side of heaven. So, here's what I recommend. I invite you to download my silent prayer.
I know some people have called in and they wonder if the silent prayer is working. And I just want to take a second and to tell them that it works. You just have to stick with it.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I started doing before I even forgave my parents. And I was so depressed and suicidal at some times that I just would have to stop in the middle of my job or whatever I was doing and go into the silent prayer. And it really does help. Like, I don't have those anymore.
Amazing. You haven't seen anything yet. Doubt every thought. Bring every thought into captivity. Just let them all pass. Don't judge them. You haven't seen anything. It gets better and better and better and easier, easier, easier. So my gift to you, no charge, at rebuildingtheman.com/church. Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. Thanks for tuning in, folks, on this fine Thursday. What a fine Thursday it is to be back with you today. A pleasure to be back with you today on this Thursday. I got a bit of a show for you today. You know, I'm into international power right now. I need some, like, sinister music. I'm into Il Papa, and I'm not talking about potatoes. That's the Pope, Il Papa. They call him Il Papa, the potato. No, the Father. The Father. Return to the Father. Il Papa, international powers on my mind a bit. I got maybe some information for you might find interesting. Delving into a couple of books and stuff just about history. The Pope. You might find it fascinating how it all came about. And what that all means, international power, dominating narratives, and overcoming narratives. What narratives are you allowing to influence your life and shape your life, actually? Think about that. I wasn't expecting that to come, but we're going to get into that too. The narratives, because it's like about dominating narratives. So you might find this fascinating. You will see. Well, I got a number of things to get into. We got fun stuff today. Cool stuff, fun stuff, a little bit of a sit rep maybe, on the government, the situation thus far, and a number of things. So thanks for everyone tuning in, 888-775-3773. If you got a couple of things on your mind, if you want to jump on the air, get something off your chest, you can speak with the Anchor Baby, 888-775-3773. Welcoming all the people here. How you doing, Jules? Where the heck did the time go? Now you're suddenly in a fever dream. You're waking up the Anchor Babies before you. How you doing, Jules? Nice to see you in the Rumble chat. I'm live on rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. Punchy.tv/Anchor Baby. What's up, Nicole? Thanks. Thank you for making an account on Punchy.tv. I love you. DLive.tv/Gorgonzola. And, of course, YouTube. What's up, YouTube people? Nice to see everybody in the chat. Thursday, week's going by fast. We got a fun Friday tomorrow. I think we're experimenting again. We're having fun on Friday, okay? So make sure you like, subscribe. You're following the channel. You never know what we're up to. Why does Nick look so concerned? I didn't know I had a concerned look. How you doing, Kale? What else here? It's a little housekeeping. Welcome, everybody. Thursday. What else? That's it, right? I think we can jump in. How you doing, Adam? Appreciate you being here. See Sal, everybody, Hake. Sit rep equals situation report, you know, for the civilians in the chat. Bill, how you doing, Bill? You know, we gotta give them the Milsim speak. Anyways, say hi to Bill, peeps. Okay, so what else? Knit for Pope. People are calling me, are nominating me to be the Pope. That's amazing, Liesel. Nice to see you in the chat. They are nominating the Anchor Baby to be the Pope. What do you think about that? The voice of God? Why are you laughing? Now I'm looking at Bill. I'm talking to Bill. The voice of God? What? Don't act so. Okay, maybe let's move on. But the Pope, you know, it's funny. Liesel wants to nominate me, but there's a process here. You know, you gotta be one of them global elite, the global elite of the Catholic world that exists. Now they don't have armies, they don't have stuff like that, but they have the hearts and minds of 1.3 billion or something like that, 1.3 billion Catholics around the world across many nations. But yet they have like a state, right? They have like their own sovereign state. And so I was just fascinated a little bit about this. And I've thought about it before. But if you wanted to know how one gets picked, Liesel, in case you wanted to get me in there, Jesse Lee Peterson really wasn't too far off when he was wondering if the whole process is like political. The Pope is, in fact, not just like this spiritual leader and all that, but he is the head of state of Vatican City. He is the head of state. It's a government. When they're picking the Pope, they're picking the government. It is a process of picking the head of state, essentially like choosing a president, like choosing a president and a monarch combined. I don't know, whatever. Maybe just a monarch. I don't know. But he runs it, okay? The Pope runs it. Absolute executive, legislative, judicial power. And so they got all these cardinals together. You maybe heard about it. You got to be under 80. Now, I don't know why that is. But they gather in the Sistine Chapel, and they lock themselves up. They can't leave. No phones, no outside meddling. They lock themselves up in the Sistine Chapel, and they pick the Pope. You'll see the smoke. They light up the smoke. The black smoke comes out. They haven't picked the Pope. You know, they love their theatrics, okay? They love a little theatrics, you know, with a little, you know, you got to keep the people, you got to get the people into it, right? Get a little theatrics going. Now the white smoke comes out. They're like, habemus po il Papa. We have a Pope, they shall say when it happens. But it is essentially a political thing. And these cardinals too, you know, it gets crazy. It gets really political. It gets really political and it's just like super political. Because what happens? Okay, so these cardinals go into the Sistine Chapel. They lock themselves up, but it's not just we are all individuals and we are putting our vote. It's like what happens with any collection of what we lovingly call democratic power. It's just democracy. It's so lovely. It's so fair. But what happens is these people then start making blocks and alliances amongst themselves. They negotiate, and it gets real political. How do these, you know, I was wondering, well, how do these cardinals align themselves if I'm hearing about these blocks? And it's how you really basic ones that you're familiar with. Geographic. So here's something that happens. You got like reforms that some want in the church. We need to reform this way. We want to reform that way. You can essentially see them as more traditional types and more progressive types. But there are geopolitical blocks like cardinals from Africa, Asia. You know, there's cardinals out there, and they get together and they're like, we want a non-European pope. They'll argue, we want a non-European pope. So it's like political. I wonder what Jesus would say. Would he turn those tables? Would he turn those tables in the Sistine Chapel? They lock themselves up. We want a non-European pope. What do you think, Bill? So they do this thing. They politic it up and they pick the pope. Okay. And these cardinals, they set the direction of the church and all that. You can see that as like the judges, the Congress people. They call them people, Congress people. They call it the deep state sometimes because I'm not too familiar, but basically entrenched power, right, in the government. You can have a president after president, but it's this entrenched power that kind of decides the direction here, right? So that's a little bit about the papacy, picking the Pope there. And so I was just thinking about like power and all that. You know, that's a funny word too. Power, false power, most of it is. Because it's about having control over others. And you can only do that, like that's only possible at where the rubber meets the road. It's in the mind and the emotions of a person. You got to like dominate that. Yeah, that's what you're really dominating. You're not dominating a person. You're just dominating their mind, their emotions, their obsession, what they believe and think. So I was thinking about that, right? Yeah, what you think about governments growing up, you think about power, like in a very crude way. You just think, well, governments, right? That comes to mind. That's obvious. Tanks, like you try and peel that back, you start seeing, well, that's a question that has some deepness to it, right? Well, powers, tanks and military power, economic power, alliances, but peel it back, that's what these governments are, right? That's how they exert their power. In a way, you could call that a very traditional thing. Armies, when it comes down to it, right? Very traditional format. But the Vatican doesn't have any army like that. And so but the Vatican, as I've described so far, if you quickly look at it, tiny country, sovereign state, but its power extends beyond its borders. That's just clear and uncontroversial. It's a 1.3 billion members, parishes everywhere. You've seen the Pope himself speak on issues, and it's like the significance of that power could be debated. Is it that deep today, in today's day and age? Sure, it's a debatable thing, but it proves the simple picture I'm painting here. Speaking on these issues has had all sorts of trickle-down effects to the thinking and beliefs of the members, the leadership of those members across the world. So anyways, they have the Vatican has international relations with something like over 100 countries. So they have diplomatic relations. So they've have their you establish this over time, right? You could consider other forms of this power in a sense, right? Is the Islamic Ummah, my visage up to God. It's a shared faith, right? Religions, right? That's another one, right? Religions, but this Islamic Ummah, right? They have all sorts of political influence that has toppled leaders of countries. I'm trying to think of some, but these Islamic takeovers over there. I'm sure you're familiar somewhat. United Nations, they don't have an army. The Jewish diaspora and the Israel lobby. I mean, that's just should be an uncontroversial one as well. Trump himself talking about it. Corporations, BlackRock, etc. So anyways, just as I was just pondering on these things, I found it interesting. You could consider for a moment the digital world. That's been an interesting thing. Now that's my lifetime. I was born when the internet was already created. And it's been, even in my lifetime, a paradigm shift on how we approach daily life. It was just in Trump's first term that the smartphone became, I've said this before, ubiquitous, right? Everyone has one. The vast majority of the entire world had smartphones in their pockets for the first time. I was born on the internet. You merely adopted it. This is true. But what was I thinking about? Yeah, I was thinking about the digital interconnected world. I saw this article talking about narrative dominance and how that's the modern approach to power and influence. But whatever. I mean, hasn't that been the case since from the get-go? Hasn't that really been the story from the beginning? narrative dominance, but it has its place and significance in today. Mere events on social media, I think, is fair to say, have had significant. Think Trump 2016, the internet and their influence, the underground internet's influence in bringing Trump in first term 2016. Think October 7th. Think just so many of these things, like the reason X, the reason Twitter, X, Facebook, these social media companies, they bring them up before the government in these not conferences, what is it? When they bring them to question them before the government, they do it for various reasons. It was what were they calling those laws? I forget what they were calling those laws, but it had to do with what rights companies had, these social media companies had. They brought them before the government to question them about how they're affecting children and stuff. But really, what's at the heart of the government's interest in social media and them trying to ban TikTok and all that, it's state power. It's the ability it has to influence the state. I mean, that just should be clear by now. The Hunter's laptop, they call it. That's just like, what do you call it? That's just like a loose thread. It's just that's just something you see. That's just the tip of the iceberg peering over the water that you're seeing. Oh, Hunter's laptop. So the social medias are, look, that Facebook tried to influence the 2020 election by stopping a story at the behest of this or that faction power. That's just the tip of the iceberg, right? The government has a big vested interest in that, in becoming the one who gets to tell you stuff in your phone, if that's one way, crudely way of putting it. But anyways, narrative dominance. What power, as I'm like talking about this, it came to me about narratives. And it's how it's always been from the beginning. Who can you make believe your narrative but the individual? I mean, is this not what Jesus was talking about in a sense? The road is wide to destruction, right? So the world will clamor for a king, will clamor for leaders, will clamor for direction, and that's just how it is. And when I think a little bit about Jesus coming to divide, right? He came to divide. He came to destroy that narrative that anyone could be above you, that anyone's an expert over you, a teacher over your life, and a master over you. Now that's radical, right? That's radical in a way. But what else about this? What narratives are you allowing to dominate your life? Think about that, maybe. Because it's all up here, right? We're just believing things. This power the Vatican has. And how deep does that go? I don't know. Is merely a narrative, no? So the papacy, let me do this real quick because you might find this interesting. How does a Vatican become a sovereign state where they're free from Italy that surrounds them, Rome, Italy surrounds the Vatican City. And they are allowed to operate as such with their own government. Now, they don't have like an army and all that. You'd wonder, like, how is this even allowed? Well, they have a number of protections, right? They have the vast majority, the Catholics who would not be too happy if Italy maybe like, you know what, Vatican City, you're just Italy. Too bad, so sad. You don't have an army. Like, what are we doing here? What is this? That thought in people's minds protects the Vatican City, if you could think about it. So take this in, Vatican. You got to go back to Rome. You got to go back to ancient Rome. You have to go back to ancient Rome because Christ is a significant figure in Rome. In that history, it splits time. It literally splits time, right? You go, the Roman kingdoms, hundreds of years before Christ. Hundreds. Like 5, 6, 7, 800 years. And so that a bunch of stuff happens. And then they crucify Christ, right? They crucify Jesus Christ. And Christianity is underground. Now, let me just pull this up. Hold on. Christianity goes underground, essentially. But it remains like a force. It remains a controversial religion that like gathers steam in Rome. It eventually becomes the main religion. This is hundreds of years, though. Hundreds of years after Christ. So you get to 313 AD, 300 years after Christ. And this, you might be familiar with, it was Constantine, I believe, the Edict of Milan. He makes Christianity the main religion. And the Pope that's when the Pope becomes like a powerful political figure. And so I'm learning about that. I'm like, wait, so does that mean there were a bunch of popes before that? Yeah, there were popes before this Edict of Milan, right? So the Emperor Constantine's like, okay, it's cool. We're cool with Christianity. We're making it the main thing. It's hot. It's the way. He has a vision. The story goes that he has a vision. He's about to go into like war or something like that. And he has like a vision. And the vision says something like in Latin, something about he is risen or something like that. It's something like that. He sees like a vision and he's like, nope, we're going Christian. They say it was political. They say that that's, it's thousands of years ago, folks. So the official story is he saw a vision. He's like, I'm a Christian. Some say merely political. But anyways, yeah, there were popes before that, leading all the way up. They say the first pope was Peter himself. That's basically how it goes. That the first pope was Peter, upon who, didn't Jesus say, I'm going to build the church on you, Peter? You're the rock I'm going to build the church on. That's the story. The first pope was Peter, and that every pope has been a succession, a divine succession since him. I wonder what Jesus and Peter would think of this divine succession. They went into the Sistine Chapel and they're like fighting. They're like, no, we want a black pope. You make it a black pope right now. It's just not fair. I just don't even know. But yeah, there were popes. Now they didn't. How it goes basically is Christianity picks up steam in the Roman Empire, but the Roman Empire is falling away. And the Pope is what they just called like the most important bishop in Rome, the Bishop of Rome. You had like bishops in all the major cities, right? So these bishops started coming up in all the major churches and they got importance. And the big church in Rome, the Bishop of Rome is who they called the Pope. But they were calling them all popes for a while. They were all popes, right? You're all fathers. Il Papa. And then they started calling the Bishop of Rome the home of the church, right? Started coalescing power. So anyway, so they're all like underground leaders and stuff. They make Christianity legal and official. The Pope suddenly becomes very important. And all that. So what else about this? This goes all the way up to Mussolini. This is actually interesting. It goes all the way up to Mussolini. That Mussolini, 1929 Mussolini, World War II Mussolini. It was Mussolini who did it, basically. They call it the Lateran Treaty, February 11th, 1929. So many things happened in those world wars. Like I don't know if there were seats of international power in this way before the world wars, but as far as I've learned, two major ones were created. No, okay, well, let me not go too far here. I'm just telling you what ChatGPT says. Don't call me anti-Semitic. I did not prompt ChatGPT in any way. I'm like, hey, ChatGPT, what do you think about this whole show I'm putting together? You got any thoughts on this international power? And ChatGPT was like, yeah, here's a few of them. Number one, Jewish diaspora, Israel lobby. No, don't get mad at me. This is an uncontroversial one, honestly. But Mussolini, where was I? Yeah, seats of power here. They say the UN, right? The UN, that was World Wars, right? World War I. What was I just saying? The Vatican, right? World War II. Well, that was right before World War II, in between World War I and World War II. Mussolini, the Vatican. And the Europeans, right? This is how I see it. Crude, maybe. But the white people, the leftovers, the ones who were looking upon the pockmarked land after the world wars were like, that's it. We're the winners. And, there's no, that's a funny way of looking at a winner, right? Everything's destroyed. We just had world wars. It's a mess. But, hey, the winners of that were like, we're carving this area up and we're calling it Israel. Too bad, so sad. So, I don't know. A lot of things happened during that time. I just didn't know it was that recent, right? Italy wasn't even like fully realized. Italy had like kings. Mussolini, right? Basically, what Mussolini was trying to do was unify Italy, and this unification of Italy had started before him, before Mussolini. There was that area, that whole region was a collection of kingdoms and territories as it goes in Europe, as early European history is, and post-Roman Empire history is, the Middle Ages, right? And some people there, they call him Giuseppe Mazzini, and some other guy, Giuseppe Garibaldi, both Giuseppes. And others, they were like, you know what, guys, we got to unify. Unify what? I don't know. As a person over here, all this time later, I remain with these questions of who unified? Who was it, right? Like, who were the Romans? Like, who exactly were the Romans? Essentially, I've come to conclude, I have to conclude with my vantage that it's simply strangers with a common history. Am I suddenly a progressive telling Americans you're a collection of immigrants? America was made by immigrants. Well, no, but when you take an honest look at life and the world, it's a little funnier than it seems, right? Because we spent years going, America's not a nation of immigrants. You're crazy. And those people who say that are nuts. They hate America. But when you look at it, when you really look at it, it's a funny thing, don't you think? That's what these men did. Giuseppe Mazzini. There was no Italy before that. And that was just in 1870. And they were like, we're going to make the kingdom of Italy came about. They had a king, the king of Sardinia or whatever. Mussolini comes to power years later, right? And the church basically had become a big block in unifying Italy. Because for hundreds of years before there was any reunification in Italy and the Kingdom of Italy, who ruled that region were the popes, were this succession of popes that I was talking about. Now, the early succession, like I told you, they were underground under Rome. But eventually they came into power. And the Rome that was once the ancient Rome with the Colosseum, which still stands today, had turned into a radically different world, a Christian world that was led by this king, the Pope. And that was in the way. Because these guys were like not about it. So Mussolini, basically Italy surrounds Rome. They take Rome. Giuseppe Mazzini, whatever, what else? They take a bunch of things. And when you read about history, when they say they took Rome, they took this, that means they fought. There was blood. There was blood. Okay? That means they warred. So they took Rome, and what the Pope did, that Pope at that time, He took his people and they went into the church and they locked themselves up. They love doing this stuff. They're so drama. These Italians, these romantic Europeans, man, these so dramatic. They love their drama. They're like, we will not accept Italy. We do not accept Italy. And so it's like a big headache because you got all these proto-Italians before Italy's about to be Italy's going like, hey, hold on here. You know, this reunification is cool and all that, but we're Catholics. We love the church. You're just not going to do it. And so Mussolini was like, let's make a deal. You guys can have your little Vatican City. Just let us be Italy and be powerful and do our thing. So I just didn't know about all this. I found it fascinating. The Pope, and so there's your Pope's role. You know, it's well beyond this spiritual, theological thing. It's become, can you see, it's been political for a long time. It's been very political for a long time. Now this Pope does have, when I speak to Catholics that I know, they don't see him as a political leader. They do see him as a spiritual leader. And that's just a fact, right? That's just how they see him. And that's a funny thing in itself. Because now they have a theological basis. You talk to your average Catholic, they might have their own thinking on this. But the theological basis for this Pope role is a little interesting. Now, I already told you a bit. It's a succession. All the way from Peter, they claim. But this succession gives them like this authority. Now, it's not in the Bible. I'm trying to find it. I tried looking for it. But it's not in the Bible. The successor of Saint Peter. That's who he is, right? Matthew 16:18. You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church. I don't know what he meant. I mean, I have an idea. In my heart, I have an idea of what he meant, what Jesus meant. Now, that's a funny sentence. In my heart, I have an idea. In my heart, I know what he meant. But I wonder, it's like, did Jesus mean like the Catholic Church? I'm going to build a building. I'm going to build all this. They call him the vicar of Christ. The Pope is the vicar of Christ. He is Christ's earthly representative. He doesn't replace Jesus, but he speaks and acts in his name. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a funny way of putting it, right? So essentially replace him because you speak in his name. Like when you're a brother to someone, do you speak in their name? I don't know if you speak in their name, but you are of the same family and you represent the father. You represent the father of that family. Now, I don't know if anybody could speak and act in the name of Christ. How does that even make sense? You're his brother. He said we're supposed to be his brother. Wouldn't we both represent the Father as he did? As he himself said in that book we read? He said that, right? He's like, I'm doing this because my Father is doing it through me. I don't know. Call me too simplice. Call me too simplice. I don't know what to say. Call me too simplice to go up against the theological basis of the Vatican City. But, that's how these things remain. It's politics. It's like Mussolini was trying to unify Italy, and then they did, and it's like, okay, now let's just keep things how they are. You're telling me God did it, but anyways, I'm not even taking arms up. I don't even have too much of a thing against the Vatican and all that. I was just pondering on all these things. What else about the Vatican and history before we move on that you might find fascinating? Particular details before I wrap this up. Particular details. Let's see what else about this. Italy, Mussolini. That was fast. What else about this? I'm going to just run through my notes really fast here. Allow me to do this. 888-775-3773. Something on your mind. I'm thinking about now Garibaldi, the Giuseppes I mentioned. Those that want radical change. Radical change may be necessary. But when I think about Mazzini or even just early the American founding fathers, they call them. They're radically different people. These were very accomplished, courageous, single-minded young men, realized young men who were calling for such things. And I don't know if they knew exactly, but it seems to me like they knew a little bit better what exactly it meant to unify Italy and what they called the Reunionissimo, whatever. What that really meant, what they would have to go up against, the blood that would have to be spilled for greatness, etc. Right? You got to know that, right? So it concerns me a bit. I don't want to be concerned. That's beta. I concern for a moment and then I drop it, honestly, because I got my life. I'm fine. But I see the anger in the youth, and it's like, oh, we want to bring back America and like revolution. We need revolution, radical change in America. And they're like, I don't know what to put it. Just mad and they can't even like live their daily life. They're full of fear. They're double-minded. They can't make it. They can't like, I'm going to do this. I want to do this. They don't even know what they're, it's just all confusion. But I know I'm mad at the Jews, or I know I'm mad at this, and I know I read about Napoleon Bonaparte, and I think I'm Napoleon Bonaparte all of a sudden. Now, maybe I'm judging. I'm thinking of maybe a specific subset here. I should drop all this. But tell me where I'm lying. At least that, right? Tell me where I'm lying. Mark Stafford, man, thank you for the super chat. Says, Nick for Pope, represent the Father, be the light for the world. Thank you for the nomination, Mark. Appreciate that. What do you guys say in the chat? You guys enjoying some of this info? Are you welcoming this info? Harmony Gratata Grits with a super chat. Thank you for that. Says knit. Hashtag union dues. Always with the union dues, you know. We're going to have to start like, I don't know what unions did to crack that whip on their union members, like Trump on NATO. But we need the dues. We need the dues, folks. We need the dues because we're trying to affect social change, right? As communists do. We're messing around, right? Because that's what unions do. And Harmony is super chatting, donating union dues. Kale Samogi, thank you for the super chat. Says, I haven't had a good history lesson in a long time. You also didn't make it boring. Thank you, Kale. Appreciate it. Thanks for enjoying it. So what else about this? What else? Carver, thank you for the super chat as well. Says, first black gay woman of color pope coming soon. It's all politics, man. It's all politics, man. And if you've learned by now, politics has nothing to do with what's true and what's right. That's quite the pimp hand there. Okay, so what else about this? I think we're going to wrap this up. Last final details. Let me scroll through the last bit of my notes here. I have so many. I have so many here. Bada bing, bada boom. The Papal States. The Lateran Treaty. We did it all. Okay, let's move on. Popes. Il Papa, the potato. That's so silly. I'm the only one laughing at that. And that's it. Okay. That's it, folks. Call me if you'd like. 888-775-3773. I want you to look at this image. Since we're doing like history and not only that, but just history you don't expect. It's a funny thing about history. You kind of, as you live and believe and adopt beliefs and conclusions, you start filling in the gaps of history in your mind. I don't know if anybody does that. I don't know if most people do that, but in general, as a people, I think we do. We kind of fill up the gaps here. We think it was this way, is that way, this never happened. Like, for example, when you look at an image like this, when you look at an image like this, you maybe kind of take in a different... If you're a person who just kind of started getting into politics or something and history, and you're on X a lot, and maybe you don't look for yourself things, maybe a little bit, maybe you do that a bit. Maybe you put a lot of importance on tweets, on like single tweets, and you're like, wow, that's history. You might have this impression of like the Crusades or America or the Catholic Church, the Holy Roman Empire, etc. What you're looking at is, in a sense, graffiti. I don't know what, like, you could look at it as this perspectives, right? That's another thing about history, I guess. Perspectives, right? What angle are you looking at this from? But what you are looking at is a statue, like a Roman era statue, Greek era statue. I don't know specifically which one this is, but this was a thing that was happening in the Middle Ages as Catholicism. I think that's more accurate, to be fair, Catholicism. But yeah, Christianity, Catholicism, especially in the 4th century, started taking major steam in Europe. You know, side note, as I'm talking, that's amazing, right? Christ as a figure. It's at the heart of Western, of the West. Christ dividing the Rome and all that. But what this is one of those statues of that era, right? Looking back at the Greeks, Rome, in a sense, desecrated and graffitied by the Catholics, by the Christians. You know, they're like, this is Christ's kingdom now, buddy. Get your stupid statues out of here. And this was like probably amazing art. You know how those Greeks and Romans were and all that. They made amazing statues. But that's what you're looking at. That's what this is. Now the caption on this image reads, "Head wearing the fillet of a victor, probably detached from a sculpture of the post-classical period. Beauty was purified or exiled, ? By carving the cross, the religious fanaticism that followed the entrenchment of Christianity after its recognition by Constantine the Great swept away sculpted masterpieces of the classical period. The end of antiquity is proclaimed by this act of purification. The superb head was defaced and covered by a cross. An era had ended. The ancient world was fading, and a new order emerging that would impose its own order on anything that annoyed it." Now, I don't know who wrote that. But do you find this fascinating? And that's why I'm saying. That's why I'm talking to you. Fascinating. It looks like a little tooth. That's cute. Christians 1, Greeks 0, buddy. But that's what they do, right? That's what happens when the beliefs fight. Blood spills. The statues get defaced and replaced. Wait, no, I don't want to pop like that. Hold on. The statues get defaced and replaced. Can you see parallels? What else do you say about that? That statue was actually creepy. You guys goofing off in class? Am I the substitute teacher? I'm just cluing in. Mr. G. Okay, so anyways, you know, this was controversial on X because the person that posted this was saying, what were they? They were saying something about, the person that posted this was like, whatever, basically. Was basically a total pro Middle Ages Christianity. And just saying that this was essentially defiling a Funko Pop. You know, it's essentially like defiling a Funko Pop, bro. Okay? And not only that, it goes hard. And so they were just fighting about it in the comments, like, no, that's the Western history, you stupid Christian. Like, that's why Rome fell. It's white and it's awesome. So you stupid desert Christianity, basically Jew. And then those people were like, well, no, this is Jesus and awesome. It's based. And we brought, whatever, I don't know what they brought, whatever they brought. So I don't know what to tell you, but it's funny they're having this digital modern fight about it here in the comments on X. And it's like, wow, life is funny. Life and history is just strange and funny. But yeah, he's saying it's basically defiling a Funko Pop. What do you guys think? Greek statues compared to a Funko Pop, really? I kind of get the comparison, honestly. To be fair, call me a West hater and like, but you know, not every statue. What I'm trying to say with that simply is not every statue. They had a whole bunch of them, folks. Not every single statue they had out there was like this. Like nowadays, sure, any statue you find probably could go in a museum, sure, but back then, I'm just saying, like, you know, not every what do they call them? Like just like decorative things they put on the streets here over there in Beverly Hills is Can you censor some of these statues, please? I'm not even looking, folks. Jeez. That's art, you heathen. It's art, you Christian. It's art, you heathen. Okay? You censor a statue. Oh, it's a little flash. Oh no, I can't. It's art, you heathen, you barbarian, you Visigoth. And this too is art. Okay? Sonic the Hedgehog Funko Pop. It's like, yeah, the West was here. Yeah. The Christendom continued. And yeah, guess what? We were here. Christendom was here. So when in hundreds of years, when you pull out a Sonic the Hedgehog Funko Pop when you pull out a Patrick Star Funko Pop, SpongeBob SquarePants 25th anniversary Patrick Star Funko Pop from the dirt that's still preserved, you'll know that Christendom was here. You'll know the West was here. Okay. So anyways, Matthew, appreciate that super chat, says, history is as fickle as saving your baby teeth. Appreciate that. And appreciate the super chats. Thank you so much. Let's check those amazing super. We'll get back to those. So what else here? A little bit about this, a little bit about that. Sacrificing children, that's an interesting one. I saw internet fights about, well, white people did it too. I saw a bunch of internet fights, you know, because they say the Mesoamericans, very, very, you know, they love that stuff. It was like part of, like, they're allegedly, right? As it was written by explorers and all that, their gods required sacrifice, they would say. The rain god, you know, these Aztecs, you know, they had, you know, they even have like sacrificial, what do you call them? What would you call them? Just call them sacrificial implements? No, what's the word I'm looking for here? So sacrificial geography? No, sacrificial architecture. That's probably what I'm looking for. There's sacrificial architecture today over there of these cultures, of these societies, okay, where they would do the sacrificing, right, at the temple, you can go visit it. Those Aztecs, you know about it. And so those Europeans came, they're like, the child sacrificing will stop, okay? They arrived to America, and they were like, you know what? The sacrifice and barbarism and the killing of children is gonna stop. We're gonna stop that here. And they're fighting about it on the internet. I was seeing X fights. They were saying, well, the early Indo-Europeans did it too, though. And it might be. It seems like it's pretty much true. You could maybe split hairs and fight about who did it more, you know, in exactly what period. But whatever. Everybody savages. Everybody with all that. What can I say about that? Now, what was I bringing that up? There was this Matt Walsh thing that was also controversial about the those early American Indians. You gotta love them, right? Now, this individual is describing a story of his 6th great-grandmother who was taken captive by American Indians in eastern Kentucky, 1789. He writes, say her name, Jenny Wiley. I don't know if he's trolling or I don't know. You don't have to adopt those practices. C.R. Wiley. All of her children were murdered. She escaped after 11 months and was reunited to her husband and had a second batch of children, one of whom was my 5th great-grandfather. Here's a scholarly work debunking the peaceful Native American myth. Dig a little deeper, and I think you'll find that atrocities committed by settlers sometimes were retribution for earlier atrocities by the tribes. So anyways, I heard that's in the Constitution, too. These Indian savages. And Matt Walsh, he ruffled a lot of feathers here saying, turns out, if you really look at it, pretty much, he said the policy of every native tribe was to raid the enemy and kill all of the men, no matter what. It didn't matter if they surrendered. The idea of taking an enemy combatant prisoner and allowing them to live just didn't exist among natives. Every attack was a massacre by definition. Also very often killed the women and children without feeling the slightest bit bad about it. Now, I don't know how he knew that. I'm telling you, they did it without me even feeling the slightest bit bad about it. But I don't find that hard to believe, folks. Come on. It's a matter of belief. And if your tribe's belief is that this is good, that's all it takes. It's a matter of belief. We are taking so we may survive, and that is good. If they allowed any woman or child to live, it was only to take them as slaves. Despite what you have heard, natives were not shocked and appalled by the brutality of white settlers. They were accustomed to brutality. It's all they knew. They were actually shocked and even in some cases appalled by the mercy and restraint of white settlers. You're not going to eat that? What's wrong with you? That's a perfectly good Iroquois. That's a joke. I don't know about that. I don't know of the cannibalism of that. I don't know. But this brought a lot of controversy from Matt Walsh. What's funny is some people were mad at him because they were like, not every tribe, Matt Walsh. Okay, it's not every tribe. Not every tribe. In fact, many tribes like the Iroquois were known as a powerful alliance. I heard about that too growing up. The settlers, they came and they made friends with some tribes and warred with others. Now, the peaceful tribes were like, oh my gosh, thank you. Oh my gosh, these guys over here, they're crazy. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, what's that? You have a boomstick pointed at those freaks. They're eating us. I'm adding a little color. But they were happy. Some of them reportedly, allegedly, as the story goes, were happy with their relationship with the Europeans, the peaceful Christian Europeans who came to end child sacrifice. Just a little bit of history, even if it's a little crude, maybe. A little crude in some areas. Just a little history for you. But yeah, Matt Walsh's thing here. What else was I thinking about this? They killed a woman and children without feeling the slightest bit bad about it. And that's the thing. I feel like that's not too far from... Just think about how belief works. Belief. Isn't that like a classic ethics quandary? If you had a society of people and just from birth taught the children of that society to murder is good, would they believe in murder? Or would something inside, would something tell them this is wrong? Could morality and ethics, be questioned, and could that the morality and ethics of that society be questioned naturally from within? Like, is that possible? I would say, I used to think no, but I'd say yeah. I would actually say yeah, no. In practice, most likely, in my opinion, what would happen is you would have a society of murderers, and they would essentially be okay with it because they were taught that. But it wouldn't. I don't know if you could. There would be some maybe struggle within somewhere in there. Knowing what I know a bit about the heart and the mind, and yes, it's dark, it's evil, and all that. But God is whispering. He's got his whispers out there. His whispers are out there. And for those that want to see, something is wrong here. Something is wrong here. And I grew up like an animal. I'm joking around a bit. I had a family. I didn't grow up. Jesse would say like a joke, the anchor baby has a family. You imagine that, anchor baby? But it's women and all that. I don't know how I knew that something was wrong, being weak and like being under women and something like that. So I gotta say, maybe God would have a hand out there. But that's like a common ethics thing, right? Would it arise, this morality, if you just taught people evil, right? If you just taught them to kill, for example, would they question such a thing? I wonder. It fits with a video I came across. This video is interesting, okay, because it has to do with belief and language. Consider this for a moment. This individual that you'll see, you may have seen him speak before. He went somewhat viral because he was in some video talking about all the things the Europeans left behind to the Africans, for example. I forget exactly who he was talking about. Where do they speak Igbo? Igbo, I think, is Nigerian. Where is Igbo spoken? Where is Igbo? You know, I speak the Igbo. I don't want Ghanaian food. They put too much egg in Ghanaian food. Nigeria, yeah. Nigeria is the core region, Igbo. Is a language they speak there. So one of the three major languages, along with Hausa and Yoruba, which is important to note for this video. This individual, he went viral because he was, I believe it was him. I'm almost positive. He was talking about, hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing, sir? Amazing. I'm Canadian. I'm in the middle of a show, but I want to say hello to you. How you doing? Yeah. Isabel, it's nice to meet you. I'm the anchor baby. You guys want to be interviewed? You guys want to be part of the show?
You want to be part of the show?
No problem, no problem. Where in Canada are you from?
I grew up in Brampton. She grew up in Mississauga.
Shout out Brampton. I went to high school in Mississauga. What school? St. Francis. Xavier.
St. Martin.
No way. No way. A small world.
It's hot here. Do you want to
I don't feel it. Don't tell me about it. I don't want to hear about heat. Amazing. Thank you, guys. Nice to meet y'all. Right on. Folks, we're saying hello to some visitors here at Bond, so it's nice to meet people. That's the best part of what I do here. I'm like a dude. I'm like a dude who edits videos and helps Jesse out. And now I'm like going around with him. I met the Hodge twins. People come around, they're like, Nick, you're the anchor baby. I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm the anchor baby. It's amazing. So I was telling you about this guy here, and this guy went viral because he was being controversial, because he was saying it was a charge to the Africans on how they were unable to maintain what they were given by the Europeans. The railroads, the infrastructure, and in some cases even like the civics. In many cases, even the civics of their nations, the military, the ways of government. So, you know, he went viral for his commentary on that, which was fascinating. Here he is talking about the concept of the word maintenance. I found this fascinating. Watch this video. Here he is talking about the concept of the very word maintenance and where it does not exist.
And in third world countries,
where that concept does not exist, according to him.
You're trying to say that, from what I'm understanding, in third world countries, anything that is not under maintenance is because, you know, we don't care.
No, you care. It's not in the concept. Travel the 54 countries in Africa and ask each person in every country, what is wrong with your country? Leadership. Leadership. All of you say the same word. So let me ask you, since 19 1960. The country has been picking the wrong leader every 4 years. Not a single railway built by the British is in Nigeria today, but the one they built in their country that same year, it's still running. Not a single railway built in Ghana in 1960 is still there today. What do you know in that country that has been properly maintained by the people every day and it works perfectly?
It's hard for people to maintain things when they're not gaining a lot.
No. It's hard for people to maintain things when they don't have the concept of maintenance in their culture.
It's hard for people to maintain something they don't have when they don't have the concept of maintenance in their culture. That's him saying this, right? I don't know. Taking the rest of this video is fascinating, but I'm repeating some of this because he's for those just listening, they may not have totally understood.
It's hard for people to maintain things when
it's hard for people. It's hard for people.
They don't have the concept of maintenance in their culture. What is the one word in Igbo for maintenance?
What is the one? Am I coming in clear? I'm not coming into my headphones. Test, 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 test. Oh, I'm having the thing Jesse talks about. What is the one word in Igbo for maintenance? He asks. What is the one word for maintenance? Let's back it up just a bit.
It's hard for people to maintain things when they're not gaining a lot.
No. It's hard for people to maintain things when they don't have the concept of maintenance in their culture. What is the one word in Igbo for maintenance?
Maintenance is there's no direct English word for that. It doesn't translate directly to maintenance.
That's correct. How about you?
It doesn't translate.
That's correct.
But it translates to like take care of.
No, that is not maintenance. What is the one?
Take care of is taking. She's saying there's no word in Igbo for maintenance, but you know we're able to say take care of. He says in response to that, he says take care of. That's not maintenance. That's not maintenance. Taking care of is not maintenance. Isn't that interesting? Maintenance.
But it translates to like take care of.
No, that is not maintenance. What is the one word for repair in Igbo?
Imezi.
Exactly. What is the one word for repair in You see?
Now, I don't know why they're laughing at that. What does the word imezi mean? Imezi, Igbo to English. Because he's laughing. He's like, what is the word to repair? He says imezi. And I don't know why he laughs at that. But maybe he's just laughing because they're like, okay, we do have a word for repair, but not for maintenance. And so I just wanted to be clear about that. Because when I first saw this, I wondered that and still wonder that. If they're laughing at something only they understand, right? So
that's not maintenance. What is the one word for repair in Igbo?
Imezi.
Exactly. What is the one word for repair in You see? I'm driving you to somewhere. What is the one word for democracy in Igbo language? You don't. How about you? You don't. You're trying to practice something that is not in the concept of the language. There is no African country, and I've done it through Kenya, I've done it all, that has an equivalent of the word maintenance.
Well, in order to maintain something, you have to have it first, correct?
No, if I leave it for you, you can maintain it. The British left
That's so simple and beautiful. That's so simple and beautiful. Well, if you have to maintain, you got to have it first. You got to develop it. And I don't know if that's all what that young black guy meant, if he meant all this. But you could see others thinking this, right? Well, maintain, you got to have it first, right? So, okay, the British left it, but okay, we didn't create it. We don't have it. We don't have it. No. If I leave you something, you could just maintain it. You just have to just do it. You just have to do it. That's so simple. I love simple, beautiful, because simple and beautiful is life. And I notice so much of what holds us back is these narratives, these things that are not true. And we could live life right now. If we just want to do it, you could just stop believing thoughts if you wanted to. You could just stop. You just stop believing that thought that's telling you to turn back to the heroin every time. But that thought, to just go against that. Just maintain it. Right, but there's no concept there. The rest of the clip is still fascinating. I'll let you watch it, but that simplicity, I love it. No. Oh, yeah, because we can't maintain it because we never had it. No, if I leave you something, you just maintain it.
But maintenance.
Well, in order to maintain something, you have to have it first, correct?
No, if I leave it for you, you can maintain it. The British left a lot of things in this country when they left. They established the hospitals, they established the fire station, the post offices, the railway lines, the roads they built before they left. You are not able to maintain it because you don't have that concept. Because your environment, the tropical environment of Africa, the way you build your houses, the material you use, you don't require maintenance. Every country that is called industrialized countries, today, one of the things you know about them is maintenance of what they have. That's why we have buildings here that are about 250 years old, 300 years old in this country. There are buildings in other countries of Europe that are 700 years ago. The Notre Dame that burned in France was a 13th century building. Do you know what kept it that long till today? Maintenance is a culture.
Maintenance, buddy. Hey, I don't know what to tell you. White people love that maintenance. And it seems like a thing I've always known that could improve. It's like if I think about the areas I want to improve, it's maintenance. Maintaining all these things given to me, these gifts, this body, this mind, and to develop, maintain and develop. When I think about how do I want to improve. But anyways, Igbo, a little bit of Igbo for you. You know, let me just close all these tabs. I have so many tabs. Igbo to English. How do we learn Igbo? You know what I mean? When I type maintenance in Google, look what happens when I type maintenance in Google Translate from Igbo to English. I type in maintenance and oh wait, no, sorry. Let me flip it. Yeah. If I type in maintenance, I just get imezi. Like that lady said, that's not maintenance. That's just vague, to repair, to take care of. Imezi. And so there you go. Maintenance. Igbo. Yeah, what do y'all think about this? Oh, snap. Something went wrong. Chrome is saying I'm disconnected. Tell me I'm live. I'm refreshing. Okay, I think I'm live. Yes, I am. I'm laughing at Aaron here in the chat. So what else about this? We have a system for waste disposal, but it all goes into a landfill, and it's just one big pile of garbage. What do you do with that? I don't know. Yeah, Jabrail. Shout out Brampton. Imagine that, right? Brampton, Ontario in the house, showing up right here. The lady who was with the individual who's saying hello to me went to a high school not too far from the high school I went to in Mississauga. What's going on? Small world sometimes. Look up Chinese man telling his opinion about African man. Oh, no, I've seen that already, the tax cattle. But it was this Chinese man who was, criticizing this Ugandan man, I think, about how badly they've maintained what was left to them by the Europeans. Let's see what else here. Maintenance. Okay, so what else? I think we're done with all that. Amazing. 888-775-3773. Thank you, Jules Verne. If you limit people's vocabulary and choose what words they do learn, you will control what they think. Fascinating. Let's see here. What else can we do? Let's kind of move it on here. Getting a little stuck on all this. 888-775-3773. What I was going to do. I have a note here. I have a note here that's in the way of me moving on to the birth rates and that. You know, that's getting some attention right now with Trump and saying he wants to boost births in America. You know, he wants to they're considering tax breaks or giving money or something to women that want to have children in America. You've seen similar pushes around the world. In other ways, for that same motivation to bring up the birth rates, which are low, all over, actually. Well, not all over, but in a lot of places, like even like China and stuff, where you wouldn't expect that. But so we'll get to that. But this I wrote Pedro Pascal. That's all I wrote. And that's in the way. It's in the way. We try to move on here. But I heard him mentioned on the Hake Report today. And apparently he wore some like pro-trans shirt. Is that what he did? Or what did he do? So Pedro Pascal, like he's basically that guy. I think he's even in my intro. Didn't he play the Narcos guy? Yeah. Pedro Pascal, he played Javier Peña. Who played Escobar then? Pablo Escobar in Narcos, actor. Oh, yeah. I guess I confused them. But Pedro Pascal is in Narcos. But the guy who's in my intro who says plata o plomo is this guy. Not this guy. So this guy is Wagner. His name is Wagner. What kind of name is Wagner for this Latino sounding last name and Latino looking face? What's the history there? Is this guy an Argentinian? What's going on? This guy from Buenos Aires? Wagner. Not that I would peddle in conspiracy. Wagner Moura is a Brazilian. Those Brazilians. So anyways, that guy's the one in my intro. He's like plata o plomo. But then this guy, Pedro Pascal, who's also in Narcos, you've seen him maybe in Last of Us. You've seen him here and there. Caught my attention because he said something about trans people, right? On the Hake, the Hake Report reported on it. So what did he wear? He wore a shirt. And I guess I do have some thoughts on this. And it's probably my ego who's not letting me move on from this note. Like I have to say what I was thinking. So let me pull it up. Let's see. What was he saying? Oh, protect the dolls. That's what it was. Protect the dolls. And this is just like what? It's like a pro-trans thing. The dolls are supposed to be the transgenders. Because they're like dolls. Protect the dolls. He's pro-trans. And he's like what was I going to say about him? Basically, the Hake Report said that I said something, but he didn't repeat what I said. He said that I would say it on my show. I called this guy something. And I don't know him that well. It's merely an impression, and I'm sure I'll be forgiven for impressions. These are just impressions. Shallow, I'm judgmental maybe. But Pedro Pascal strikes me as a bit of a freak. Straight up, you know. And I say that without knowing anything, right? What I call freaky, it's just free and liberal and cool and expressive, like whatever, right? Whatever, like live your life. I get it. I'm with it. Express yourself, right? It's just when you wear tall leather boots, thigh-high leather boots, you know. I'm not saying it's bad. Look, here's what I'm trying. This is not a comment on fashion. No. That whole world, it's supposed to be expressive and maybe even boundary breaking. Now, certain boundaries I just don't even care to break, you know, like these gender boundaries. But what I'm trying to say with that is I'm not uptight about it, is what I'm trying to say, right? Like you could be cool about it. But that being said, you know, when you express yourself in this world of fashion, which is meant to, right? You express yourself. Do it up. I want to express myself. I want to dress snazzy in a certain way. I have some ideas here. I get it. But there's something about, how do I put this? It's not even a judgment. It's just thigh-high leathers, you know, skin showing your leg, wearing a sort of looking dress, showing some leg, showing leather, being androgynous in your dress, in the way you dress a little bit, slightly. Look at this one. Polka dotted. What it is to me, what it screams to me just a little bit, is freaky. Like, yeah, sexual. Like, tell me I'm judgmental, fine. Well, here's what I'm getting at. Here's what I'm getting at. Look, here's what I'm getting at. I was just talking the other day about Kanye and his song and Cousins and this hypersexual world. Live your life. Honestly, I don't care. But put it like this, I can't help but notice the abused generation. I don't know how else can I put this. I'm not saying Pedro Pascal is abused, but you get this impression of the world that's presented to you that is one way, right? And that this is normal, and these are just normal people. Everything's just cool. This is just a different identity. It's just, you know how like you're straight? Yeah, this is just gay. You know how you're like married and straight and all that? Okay, we just do it like this. It's just a different flavor. That's all it is, right? It's just a different flavor. It's just a different flavor. Every different strokes for different folks. But you peel it back, and this is not Pedro Pascal is necessarily. But these people are always so freaky that are into this stuff, right? They're always so into they're not normal. They're essentially, it's presented as normal, but it's never quite normal, right? You peel it back, and the hypersexual sometimes, more often than not, has some trauma in the past somewhere. And I'm not saying Pedro here. But I personally, it's of my opinion that someone who is so sexually liberal and freaky a little is because they're a little loose. They're a little loose in the legs, and people loose in the legs is because they got fondled with. Now, that's just me being crazy, right? Being bombastic with language. But, consider Kanye West for a moment. It makes sense. It makes sense. All that porn and all that. It makes sense. It makes sense. And so, I'm not saying Pedro, but he strikes me as a little freaky. He strikes me as freaky, like, I'm just like Hollywood. Like, I support non-binary. My co-star on that show, Last of Us, is like non-binary, and I support the people. He made this big post on his social media the other day about people who just want to exist, who are hated for merely existing. That's a dog whistle for like LGBT and minorities. I wonder too. It left me wondering when I saw that post, and he's like, it bothers me so much when the world hates a minority that simply wants to exist. I'm like, oh, is he talking about white people? I wonder, is he talking about like white people in the world? They're a minority in the world that are simply hated for existing. But I'm just rambling a bit about all this. It's like you get this look, and it's supposed to look all normal, but I wonder. This is a little this is starting to look freaky, right? This starting to look like Unk's a little freaky, and then it's like, what does Unk support? And it's never just as normal as it's presented. It's like hypersexual. Like, I wonder what's the trauma behind it all. Not Pedro specifically, but anyways. So that was off the top, hearing hake on Pedro Pascal a little bit. Pedro Pascal blasts J.K. Rowling as a heinous loser for her anti-trans views. Oh yeah. Now this is recent, right? Because it was a win, right? There was a win in the UK. They basically said, like, legally, if you're born a male, you're a male. I forget exactly what happened. UK recent law trans? What happened with that? Because I reported on this, but I'm just forgetting. Here it is, CNN. The United Kingdom Supreme Court ruled that a woman is defined by biological sex under the country's equality law, excluding transgender women. Yeah, excluding transgender women in a case that is expected to impact accommodations for trans women in bathrooms. So, honestly, I think that's like a feminist thing. Wouldn't necessarily call it a win or anything. And J.K. Rowling, she went on like she was just celebrating essentially. She posted a photo, her looking all relaxed or whatever, in celebration of this win, this UK ruling. Now, where did I put this? But yeah, I think that's kind of like the Nancy Mace effect. It looks anti-trans and conservative, but it's a problem. It's a problem because it's those women that have basically destroyed everything, and men listening and saying, "Right on, wow, you're so strong, J.K. Rowling." Someone described J.K. Rowling. Someone described J.K. Rowling as in such a funny way. Because she was saying it was so amazing, right? The UK ruled on the definition of a woman, biological sex. And so she's like gloating on X, like, I love it when a plan comes together. And someone had responded to her as she was saying this, and they were saying, this is the enemy of what remains of Western civilization. The group that she vanquished are pikers in comparison. It's just barbarians fighting against each other. Feminist women raging a while. It's like, no, it has to be about us. They just defeated a group of pikers. He calls them now piker. Isn't that like what Brad Pitt was in that movie? Was it Snatch? He was a piker, right? Good dags. Huh? Dags? Brad Pitt was a piker. So they're just barbarians. Just barbarians vanquishing each other. And the men are like, right on, J.K. Rowling. That was an interesting take to me. It really is the Nancy Mace effect. It's feminism with a new face, a new mask. So anyways, where was I? Pedro Pascal. He's a man, I guess. Male. Going against J.K. Rowling. Barbarians fighting. What is he? Is he a Mexican? Pedro Pascal. He's an American, right? My bad. Chilean. He's a Chilean American. Chilean American. What a mistake of an experiment. I'm talking about like South America, like Latin America as a whole. That's more of a commentary on South America, like all of Latin America. But where was I? Pedro Pascal. That's it on that, I think. I think that's it on that. Not that important. Let's move on. Protect the dolls. You see what I'm seeing? What I'm putting down a bit? I'm just normal supporting the trans movement. Or are you also kind of revealing yourself to be kind of freaky? Because like the whole thing is very sexual. And really at the core of it is like a sexual perversion, not an identity, not anything normal. There was a fascinating post. What was it? It was a Reddit post. Let me try and remember what it was. Because it was a Reddit post, and it was in the male to female trans subreddit, something like that. And the post was allegedly of this individual, a biological male who decided to go on hormones and do the whole thing to go transgender. And what was it? This individual was describing something that was causing them distress, and it was the fact that, let me try and get the story straight, because it was something to do with the hormones, and it had to do with their testosterone. Now, this individual was attempting to, there are different levels, right? You could just put on a dress, I guess, but some people take like hormones, surgical intervention, right? They do a so-called sex change surgery. Never happened even once in the history of human history. That's never happened, not even once. But, you know, they like chop it up and give you the geography, the semblance of a woman's thing. And so, you know, some people do this hormone thing, right? And what happens is you are blocking, in some cases, blocking testosterone production. Because you want to have now your voice doesn't change because your voice only goes one way. You know, you're a woman, you start taking these hormones, your voice goes deeper, very difficult to make it go back up. You need like surgery at that point. You're a male, you take female hormones, you might I believe hair production might kind of stop in certain places. But your voice doesn't change. You might start growing lumps on your breast. You might start growing breast tissue. Isn't that a mess? What was I going to say about that? What happens with this individual on Reddit is that this person started messing with their testosterone production, right? This testosterone, it affects a number of things, right? And it can make you more aggressive. And one part it affects is sexuality, right? Your what's better, more accurately, libido, right? And so, you know, people on HRT, for example, report an increase in libido, right? So all of a sudden you're like, I got all that energy. Anyways, right? So what's happening to this individual on Reddit? They're describing going off, like messing with their testosterone production, and that messed with their libido. And they believe they're a woman, right? This person on Reddit believed they're a woman, but their libido got messed up. They weren't so sexually excited so much anymore. And this bothered them because what this person described was their decrease in libido coincided with a decrease in desire to be a woman. And this person was full of distress because they had believed they're a woman. I'm like, I'm a woman. I believe I'm a woman. But all of a sudden, I'm not so sexually excited and I'm not so into being a woman anymore. Now I'm just like, whatever. This is boring. I don't have this desire anymore. What's going on, Reddit? And it's like the big elephant in the room. I don't know if this is widely even discussed. But the big question for me, right? The big question mark that keeps being proven to me, in my opinion, this is merely a sexual kink perversion thing. You're just like, you're just sexually excited, man. You gotta stop. You're addicted to like a sexual thrill. And when the sexual thrill was going away, this desire to be a woman went away. But that person didn't question the connection there. It's so clear to me, but. So anyways, that was just something interesting I saw on Reddit. Thought I'd mention it since talking about Pedro here. Let's move on because babies is the topic right now too. Babies, it's bothering. The Trump administration is on it. They're saying they're on it. And here's the story basically. A baby bust. They're calling it. America's baby bust laid bare. Pardon. So apparently fewer women than ever are having babies in the U.S., a concerning trend the Trump administration is eager to reverse. So data is showing the births rose in 2024 by just a fraction of a percent from 2023's record low. They're reporting on this little tiny increase. They're reporting on it because the increase has its significance when you consider that for, I think, decades, but definitely at least a decade. I forget exactly. it's been a downward trend, right? So this little upward trend after, I think, almost a decade of just increasingly lower and lower birth rate, there's suddenly been an uptick. Some are wondering, does this spell the beginning of an upward trend? It's unclear. It's too early to say, right? But the Trump administration is saying they basically want to get in on this. President Donald Trump, concerned about eroding family values, has floated policies to encourage more people to have children, including tax incentives for parents, paid family leave, child subsidies. White House aides are currently preparing a report to be released by mid-May, which will recommend ways to make in vitro fertilization more accessible to couples. Is it really that difficult for people to get pregnant? Why does my mind want to tell me that that's God? You know, that's God telling you not to have that kid. But we love each other. She was only married twice before and has kids already. But God sent her to me, right? So we need in vitro and fertilization. I shouldn't laugh. I don't think it's a terrible thing. Like, whatever. Go get it. But I do have this impression that's God telling you not to have that kid. That's just my mind. But anyways, they're trying to make it happen. Fertility rate was 54.6 births per 1,000 women between 15 and 44. Less than 1% increase from 2023. So anyways, will it be a turnaround? I don't know. But they're saying we've been below zero population growth in the U.S. and have been for years. Many say our population growth is almost entirely immigration. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I'm not someone who worries. I observe, and I don't think we're going to run out of people anytime soon, says this doctor here, which is a sensible thing. That's just people in my own chat who've been trying to be sensible for a long time, telling us, hey, calm down. There's no societal collapse from birth rates. People are having babies. And I think those cooler minds, I think, should prevail. Makes sense. We're not going to run out of people. That's fair. It's about the waning majority in America. Because I know Trump is saying we just want to support families, right? We just want families. The Trump administration, notably Elon Musk and J.D. Vance, as Daily Mail is reporting, has embraced what many call a pro-natalist movement. And one proposal being floated would offer $5,000 baby bonus to new parents. Now, 30 times 5,000. 30 times 5,000 is 150,000. Would you be able to raise 30 children on $150,000? What do you think, chat? How expensive is a baby? A baby's like $200-$300 tops. Right? But anyways, for some it's a matter of a waning population type thing, demographics. And I think on that side, the argument is interesting. That's for sure. I'll say that's an interesting argument. Joel Friday TV says easy money. Lord Spike Protein says no. I like Joel Friday's can-do attitude. I definitely... What? How expensive is a baby? What? $300 tops. Whole baby. Like $300 for what? I'm sure many of you asking. Like, what do you mean? Like per month? Like, what do you mean? No, I'm saying $200-$300 tops. That's what I'm saying. That money won't last, says who are you? Maybe. But okay, where was I? Baby bust. Yeah, the demographics of it all. That's an interesting thing. Do you want to live in an America that's not majority white? Is I think an interesting question. I really do. A pertinent question, honestly. Some say it's the most significant divide politically in America. I don't think that's too far off. Whether you think we should be in a majority white country or not, essentially. This person here on X says, as someone who's experienced living as a white minority in black and Hispanic neighborhoods for over a decade, I think it's a bad thing. In fact, it's horrifying and nightmarish. You did it for over a decade? Why'd you do that? Well, maybe he was a kid. I don't know. If you're white and you think this chart is a good thing, ask yourself these questions. Have you ever experienced being a minority? Do you fully understand the implications of this chart? At what point would the decline in white population become a bad thing? 30%, 15%, 5%? Would you have the same feeling about the population decline in a non-white country? Say if this chart illustrated the declining Nigerian population in Nigeria, which was declining because Nigeria was being flooded with billions of white people. Would you then say this situation is also a good thing? A discussion going viral on X. The map in question is a map of America. White percentage of total births, 2023. And what you're looking at in the darker, browner areas, it's literally that, darker and browner, less white. 19% California, 19% of total births in 2023, according to this JPEG. You know how those JPEGs are on the internet, right? I look at a JPEG, I'm looking for the source, I see no source, it's just .jpeg, it's just a JPEG. I'm going to assume this is true, and I don't think this is that ridiculous of info to believe. 19% of total births were white in California, 2023. In fact, every state you see that is light brown to brown, the majority of births were non-white. And that's all of these states, as you can see. Texas, 22%. That's your blue. That's your red states, right? Red Texas, purple Texas. And that's just how it goes, okay? That's just how it goes. People think different things upon this map, I'm sure. A fine question, if you ask me. I see this as a bad thing, honestly. I mean, look, if the non-white births were just like amazing people, like why would I even say anything? The only thing that would be a problem would be the sovereignty of the people here. Other than that, I wouldn't be saying, well, I don't want to live in a majority non-white neighborhood. I would instead be saying, well, I don't know. I wonder what Americans think about all this, them losing their nation. But hey, at least the nation and at least the incoming people, at least I'm going to have a nice neighborhood. That's what I would be saying. But that's not what I'm saying because it's just not true. I'm going to have a bad neighborhood. It's just true. Just look at those states. Just look at this, every city in those states that I just showed you. All those big cities. So anyways, we got some calls here, 888-775-3773. Let's get to some calls here. Y'all have been holding patiently for a while here. I've had many things on my mind today. What can I say? But thanks for patiently holding here. We got Jeff out of Louisiana. Thank you for your call, Jeff. You're on the air. Hold on, Jeff. Hold on. My bad. Now you're on the air.
That birth rate thing you just mentioned, that 1% growth in the birth rate was Mexican Americans.
For real?
Yes, it wasn't nobody else. It was Mexicans.
That's a mess because they call that can be a little bit deceptive because I heard that, I've seen Hispanics get called white in some cases, right? White Hispanic, they'll say. And it can get it can blur the lines a bit, I noticed. So that's a mess. You're saying it's been Mexican population that has
it's growing.
Turned it around.
Was a Mexican population, yeah. Because I don't watch the show. I just watch stuff on YouTube, Chris highlights. But the view at Sonny Holson, I can't stand that black chick. She's claiming Trump to be racist because because of that. Because he's pushing for growth in American population, and she thinks he's only talking about white Americans.
Wait, who's talking about white Americans?
The View on the View, Sonny Holston said, talking about that birth growth,
Yeah.
no Trump or increased population. She said she thinks y'all talking about white Americans.
Sonny Holston said that?
Yeah.
That is funny.
So it's racist. He only wants
I
white
wish, but you think that's you? Do you believe Sonny?
No, man. He wants American people
Right.
that are raising American families going to work. He don't want somebody jumping the border, come over and sit on our ass and get money.
Absolutely. And
He don't want
she's
somebody
got
different
a
come
chip on her
forward.
shoulder on America, white people, and all that. It's all those women on that, like nasty people.
That's all she does. She down to whatever chance she gets, and she ain't black. She's Puerto Rican.
That's funny, Sonny Holston. So Sonny Holston basically said, this whole thing is really just geared for white people. She's trying to claim.
Yeah.
That is.
They buzzed her. Was the last year or 4? Her family's from Puerto Rico, and they owned slaves when they came to America.
You said that again? Say that again?
Her family's from Puerto Rico, and they own slaves.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
I think I remember she did like some DNA test or something, right? And she found out she had an interesting ancestry.
Yeah, they traced her DNA back. She's from Puerto Rico, and they own slaves.
That's funny, man.
Something else interesting. I Googled a few times here and found out knowing, but if you're from America, okay, everybody that's black here is called African American, right?
That's what they want to. That's what they've been pushing for a long time.
If you from England and you moved to America and you become a citizen, what do you call it? British American.
I've never heard that.
If you move to Africa from America, you're not called anything. You're still American.
You're an American African, maybe.
No, you're not American African. You're just American.
So if an African American went to Africa, you're saying they would just be American?
Yeah, they'd just be American.
So you're saying you're saying the two Africans cancel each other out like a math equation.
Well, I mean, it's just like even a white American moves to Africa, they're called American. They're not called African.
Even if a white person moves where?
If a white person moves to Africa,
yeah,
they're called American. They're not called American African.
Right. And are you making the point that though the Africans there wouldn't call them an African American?
Yeah, I mean it's stupid.
And why is why is it that they do that over there, like in that way? You think?
I don't know. I think it was black, white, and brown.
Say that again.
I think it was black, white, and brown. Whatever color you are is what you identify as.
Right.
You got white people from Ireland, Scotland, Britain, all over the world. You got white people. And Africa's the only country associated with black people.
You said there's no country with black people?
No, I said Africa is the only country associated with black people.
Right.
Or the only, not country, continent. It's
yeah.
Continent.
Yeah.
But it's just stupid the way we do this race crap. I mean, if you're born in America, you're an American. You're not African American. You don't get special treatment because you're born 400 years ago.
Right. I'm following you.
I'm not going back to 1619. I'm going to say 200 years ago because that's when the slave trade all that started. I go back 200 years. I ain't going back to 400 years. I think that's a joke, too. We were in America 400 years ago, so.
That's right. I'm following you. Your commentary is on these divisive terms we have amongst each other, which is a silly thing when you consider if we're all part of one nation, we're all American. I'm following with that. You think that's a unique? Do you think that's a unique outlook in the world? Because let's say I wonder if you were to place. Because let's say if you were to take literally anybody from the world and place them in Colombia, for example, and that person lived in Colombia, married a Colombian, and did all sorts of stuff. Now, I believe that's changed to this point, but up to a certain point, no matter what you did, you would never be Colombian. You have to have Colombian parents to be Colombian.
Yeah.
Would you say that's a unique thing in America?
Yes, it is, because I don't know what point in our history this started, but we're the only country that wants to recognize or label everybody as this. You're African American, you're British American, you're whatever country you come from. Every other country in the world, if you move to them, you're an American. It's not you live in Britain now, you're British American or American British, you're an American. You come from America. You was born on American soil. You was born on American soil, so you're an American.
Yeah, a lot of people think that way.
But to be honest, I think it started in the black culture, where it started at 100 years ago, is they brought us from Africa. Well, we didn't go and knock your head and steal you from Africa. Matter of fact, when the slave trade started, way back when, people that brought the slaves to America didn't get off the ships. The ships pulled up, and they were so afraid to get off the ships because they had so many diseases and stuff that we had no immunity built towards. Because it was a different continent, we didn't know we had immunity built towards them. So after the first couple of trips, after the first few trips, they go catch people and all that stuff, get up on the ships or sell them back to Americas, and they die because they caught disease that they didn't have immunity built towards. So it started when we went over there docked ships out there, throw an anchor down, and the black people would go catch them and bring them on the ships so they didn't get sick.
I hear you, man. Thanks for the history on that.
Yeah, man. Well, I ain't gonna hold you up, man. I was gonna give you a quick call.
Thanks for your commentary.
Hey, man, that's just, they went for everything. We wouldn't know. It wasn't us that got them. They were given to us or sold to us. Their own ancestors sold them to us.
Their old what? Sold them to us?
I said their own ancestors sold them to us.
That's true. That's true.
So it's not blame the white man for everything. You don't go back and blame somebody. Blame the original African, not the original African American, but the original African. They sold them to us because our people were afraid to get off the ships because they needed to catch diseases and die.
Ah, no way! I didn't know that. You're talking about getting off the ships when they went over there.
Yeah, when I went over there, if they got off the ships and went and caught them, they not. Well, we weren't from there, so that immunity built up to them diseases.
I hear you, man. It was the European who ended really the long ancient practice, at least as it once was in the old world.
But it's like right now, if you go to Africa, they don't want you to take I don't know what exactly they want to take, but like a measles shot, a rubella shot, and all these shots. Because before you go there, you got to get immune to those diseases before you can go there.
You get those African bugs.
Yeah, but I mean, back then we didn't have this. We didn't have the option to get those shots. So they were dying on a trip back to America.
Is there a final point you want to make, Jeff? I got to move the wheels.
No, man, that's it. Go ahead.
Call me again, Jeff. Take care.
All right, go. Bye.
888-775-3773. Patrick, first-time caller out of Minnesota. How you doing, sir?
Doing all right.
Thanks for your call.
So I've got a question for you regarding the Catholic thing.
All right.
So I'm guessing you were raised Catholic, as was I.
No, that's not fair to say. I wasn't raised Catholic. My family, they're like more of the hoop and hollering Christian type, like just average. How do you call it? Is that what do you call that? Not Presbyterian.
Pentecostal.
No. What do they call it? Just when you're just not a Protestant, just like Protestant. Isn't that just like a overarching term, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And so they were more like that. So that's how we grew up. But how I grew up, but I did go to Catholic school when we got to Canada, and I went through some of the sacraments and stuff like that.
Yep. Okay. I remember I heard you say something about being confirmed.
No, I was confirmed. Just wanted to be a little, just to be accurate.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Have you heard of Sedevacantism?
Say that one again.
Have you heard of something called Sedevacantism?
No. State of occultism.
Yep.
What's that?
So apparently, there are a whole bunch of different sects of Catholicism, which since Vatican II, in the 60s, I don't know exactly what year, they essentially reject the legitimacy. They've rejected the legitimacy of the Pope since that time, since they've totally rehauled the the Mass.
You said rehauled? With Vatican II.
Right.
So yeah, okay. The Vatican, they call it Vatican II, right? But they rejected like this original ecumenical thing, ecumenical council or whatever. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, there are a whole bunch of different sects today who still they're basically these lines of priests that still they'll only do the Mass in Latin, and it's just very interesting. I'd assume that you were raised were raised Catholic.
No,
and
not
gone
in
to
that
a bunch
way.
of Mass and everything. Okay.
No, not like as a kid. No, it was more since grade 5.
Have you been to a bunch of Masses?
I have been to Mass.
Much time
I've been to Mass all those years in Catholic school. We'd go to a bunch. I attended many different Masses. But yeah, I'm caught up. I'm somewhat familiar. They deny the current line of popes, essentially.
Yeah.
The papacy is supposed to be a line of popes all the way to Peter, but ever since this Vatican II, the Second Vatican, the rejection of blah blah blah, they basically have been denying ever since that pope that the current line of popes is wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What do you know about all that? I know very little about all that.
Well, I attended one of these churches since I think last July, relatively consistently, and it's just really, really interesting how it's the current Catholic they call the current Catholics Novus Ordo. That's like their word
Novus
for the mainstream
Ordo.
Catholic Church.
New order.
Yeah.
Novus Ordo.
Exactly. That's what they call the mainstream Catholics.
Okay.
And after attending these Masses, I can see how the current, what people call the Catholic Church and the church that I was raised in, mainstream Catholic Church, it's a different religion than what they had for hundreds of years before. It's it's a completely different ritual.
And super modern. We're talking 1960s.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the change. The change was. I've been to some Lutheran services, and my memory is that the current ritual, the current Catholic Mass, it's more like that. It's more like what I remember from the Lutheran service than this old Latin way. And it's just really interesting that the guys, I like the guys, who go to church at these Catholic Masses. It's I picked up on a lot of the anti-Jew thing is kind of like a strong sentiment in that crowd.
In which crowd again?
This trad Catholic.
Yeah.
Way.
Especially the kind of like the modern resurgence on the internet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Would you
And
call
that's the other
those
thing.
Catholics these traditional ones that you grew up with, or?
No, I didn't grow up with this. This is I just started. I kind of was invited into it, and I don't know if it's. I don't know how I feel about it. To be honest with you, have you? Can you bring yourself to call the priest father in good conscience? Because I can't.
No, I mean, I'm. Let me think. I don't think I've ever called a priest father, but I don't know if I've ever had like a hang up over it though.
Either.
I don't think I've ever had a hang up over it though, because I've never seen a priest as above me in that way, even as a kid. And now I'm not coming at it as super holy. I was this little saint, but I'm just I sincerely have never seen a priest in that way. So I've never had a hang up calling him father. And I'm trying to think, I bet you I've called a priest father, like because I heard someone else calling them father, and that's just how you address them, right? So, but I've never had a hang up. I'll tell you that. I've never, even when I was a kid, they brought me in to do confession, for example, the first confession. And I was like, I had the scowl on my face. I was like, I don't have to tell this man anything. I don't have to confess anything. And so I just did it. And I remember my stomach loudly grumbling in the church, which was silent, and the priest or whoever looking at me funny. But I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. So I definitely never had a hang up over it. Do you have a hang up over calling a priest father? Can you describe that a bit?
Yeah. It says right in the gospel, I can't tell you which verse, but it says, call no man father. I mean, I don't know what kind of mental gymnastics you have to do to like call the man father and say that that's a Christian thing to do.
That's funny. Yeah. It's like the Pope itself. It's like, what gymnastics you have to do? Jesus said, he's like, I'm here so you can find the kingdom of heaven within. You're my brother. And then these popes, this succession of popes, we are the voice of Christ, by the way. It's like, where are you getting that from?
I know. I mean, is that a claim? I mean, is it fair to say that that's a claim that they're making?
You know what? I don't know if that's fair for me to say because I don't personally know for sure, but I have heard it from others and read it on the internet that the Pope is the so-called vicar of Christ, meaning the representation and voice of, I forget exactly how they put it, but representation of not his replacement, but his representative, as it was described to me. But it's also, I swear they say he's his voice too. They say he's his voice or something like that.
Voice. Is that what vicar means, I wonder?
You know what? I don't know. Vicar. A representative or deputy of a bishop, apparently, according to Google.
Oh, okay. Well,
so what is it about the whole thing that interests you, that makes you want to be part of it? And yet you're having concerns and all that, but what is it about it, the whole thing you even want to be, that makes you want to be part of it?
Well, the community is pretty, the guys are pretty red-pilled, like the worldly fruits, like the fruits are apparent, like they're a pretty level-headed group of guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about the congregants.
Yeah.
They're family men, and there's this attraction I have that there's a promise that like it's going to lead me to heaven.
You're laughing. Why are you laughing? You're supposed to be confident about that, no?
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't keep a straight face either.
Well, but the thing is, I came to be a believer among Protestant, like Bible thumping evangelicals, and I don't understand what role the Latin Catholic ritual has in the kingdom of heaven on earth.
What role does the Protestant church have on the kingdom of heaven on earth?
Yeah.
No, that was a question. That was a sincere question.
There you go. Yeah.
No. I'm not making a point. I'm sincerely asking you. What is the point of what is the role of the Protestant church?
Well, it's wherever two or more are gathered in my name. I'm with them. That's
Do you really need the Protestant church for that? Isn't that just the Christian individual?
No.
So in the same way, we can conclude that in a very similar way, the roles that man has assigned to all these constructs are simply that, in my opinion. All of it, man. Because put it like this. I wouldn't criticize I really wouldn't think twice of it if you told me, Nick, I just want this Catholic Brotherhood. I think I like them. They have the worldly fruits are good. It just makes sense, man. I wouldn't criticize you. I would like, you've made a clear statement of something you want, so go and do it, right? Something I've noticed. I've never had like how do I put this? I've never really teamed up like that with a group over the years. Like I've done it here and there, but over time it just never sticks, and I don't go into a group like that. And what I'm trying to say with this is, yeah, if you find that camaraderie, do your thing. But something I found that has happened to me from not associating with groups too deeply in that way is that over time I've just not needed it, I guess. I think that's what has happened.
Yeah.
I found myself maybe, okay, that'd be cool to have a camaraderie, blah, blah, blah. But I found myself seeing, well, I don't know how to put it, just not desiring it, not seeing the necessity of it. This is not a fully crystallized thought, sir. I'm going to have to come back to this.
Well, it's...
But, yeah, I wouldn't criticize you or anything. I just found myself over time in not associating that this has grown within me, not needing it. I don't know if that's a full thought, but
yeah, that's a good,
and that's like natural, right? So
thing.
You might find that happening to you as well. Is all I'm saying.
Well,
in that way, you'll be a friend to all.
Thanks for what was that?
In that way, you'll be a friend to all. Groupless and friend to all. But anyways, I'm just rambling a bit. What are you thinking?
No, just thanks for taking the call, and I see that we're past 4. So
call me again. We'll have to talk on this more another time.
Yeah, it's a good thought. Trump's good thought. Anyway, yeah.
Call me again. I'm sure we could flesh this out more. Take care, Patrick.
Yeah.
All right, folks. That's it for me. We're overtime. We are overtime. Anyways, that's it for me, folks. Thanks for the super chats, the support, the calls. We did the topics. We squeezed every drop out of that show. Fargoth with the super chat. That's a funny name. Where'd you get that name? Fargoth with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. No title, no message there. That's a hilarious name. That's a funny name. Did you just come up with that, or? All right, y'all. That's it for me. I'll be back tomorrow, Friday, fun day, stream day. Like and subscribe so you're up to date with what I get up to on this channel. For now, take care. Black Friday on the JLP show tomorrow. The rest of the network, Fallen State and Anchor Baby. Take care. See you tomorrow. Oh, Lil Nick too. He's got to say bye. Bye.